Two quick stories. We're all very impressionable. And when I think of Charlotte, in 1956, as a freshman in high school, my football team, Norfolk Catholic High, went to play Charlotte Catholic. And Charlotte, they said it was a city in those days. In fact, they called it the Queen City in those days. We stayed at the YMCA downtown, and there was no downtown. I mean, you just kind of walked around. It reminded me of, not even a real town. I mean, it just was a nice place. But I happened to go back earlier this week when I heard that Richard would be here. The population in Charlotte was 134,000. The population in Norfolk in 1956 was 300,000. And it just is an interesting reflection of how times change and what was different and what has been the differences. And the Virginia annexation law is clearly a big issue as you try to figure out what happened. Interstate banking was treated very differently in North Carolina than in Virginia, and so forth. So as we try to figure out where we are, it's usually a little bit helpful to think about where we've come from. The other thing that I had my epiphany about regionalism when I was in Norfolk. We had come through the really tough times for Norfolk in the late 80s when Norfolk lost revenue sharing, and Norfolk had built $8 million into its annual operating budget. And Julian Hurst was smart enough to retire, and I was dumb enough to walk in the door and have an $8 million hole in our budget. And so we crashed around and created thoughts about downsizing that we ultimately call right-sizing, and we went into all sorts of cost containment strategies, and we kind of pioneered a lot of work in early retirement that later on the state of Virginia borrowed when they went into their recession in the 90s. But it was kind of a set of challenges that we had to work really hard on, and it took us about 2 or 3 years, and to include trying to change the culture of our workforce and so forth. And we started to do some really good things. And I swear it was like a lightning bolt hit me. I don't know what the event was, but it was very a quick, sudden shock that one day I just said, we can get this exactly right in Norfolk. But it's like rearranging chairs on the Titanic. I mean, we can get it exactly right, but we can't be any better than the region. And in those days, some of us, Mason Andrews, our mayor, people like Jim Babcock and Hank Wolf from Norfolk Southern, Bob O'Neill, Jimmy Eason, we started a set of conversations that led to the urban partnership and so forth. But the point being that regionalism kind of came on my own agenda, not because I was philosophically inclined to regionalism or ideologically. It just was kind of a pragmatic conclusion after working really hard to focus basically only on one community. So what are my thoughts about Hampton Roads and how we might excel as a region in the future?